Slavery is back.
Welcome to a place where private business profit from a captive labour force, yet pennies are spent on medical services to a population in which the Indigenous, the poor and the mentally ill are overrepresented. Where isolation, humiliation and degradation are facts of life. Welcome to prison.
It depends who's telling the story, I suppose. The prisoners would have one view, the people who work in the prison system would have another, and I think it's up to people to decide where the truth is.
Give government propaganda and the media spin doctors the flick. And check out Doin' Time for news, views and tunes on prison issues from Guantanamo Bay to Christmas Island to prisons and detention centres everywhere. Every Monday at 4 p.m. on your community radio 3CR.
We are still fired up and we're still talking about revolution.
Hello and welcome to the Doin' Time show. This is 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. Today's show is a special commemoration honouring the death of TJ Hickey, and it is a death in custody, and a warning that there may be audio images on the show regarding Torres Strait Islander peoples and Aboriginal people that have died. And it's also a subscriber drive where we rely on listeners to subscribe to 3CR. Please subscribe to 3CR programs or specifically to the Doin' Time show. And basically you can subscribe online by going onto the website www.3cr.org.au, or you can call 3CR on 9419 8377 and press option 3, and you can subscribe that way as well. Sorry, I think it's one actually. It'll give you instructions anyway. So it's $35 concession and $75 full. And it's really important to subscribe because we're a community-run radio station and we have a lot of unique independent media that is not played anywhere else. And with the Doin' Time show, specifically, we provide a safe environment for communities, vulnerable communities or people that have been deprived of a voice. And I'll be speaking to you about subscription throughout the show. Monday the 14th of February 2022 marks the 17th anniversary of the death in custody of TJ Hickey in Redfern. In 2004, the teenager died as a direct result of the actions of the Redfern police. On the 14th of February, 17 years ago, TJ Hickey was impaled on a fence near Redfern after being thrown from his bicycle. His family and their supporters have always maintained that TJ's death was the result of a police pursuit. It was no freak accident. As Ray Jackson, Indigenous warrior and supporter of the Hickey family, who has since passed on, constantly maintained during 3CR interviews and other sources, Redfern police continue to refuse to allow the installation of the commemorative plaque to be installed at the fence line where TJ was impaled as a result of his bicycle being rammed by a police vehicle. The police want to see this as an accident. That will never happen. First up on the show, we will cross over to a rally organised by ISJA Sydney in honour of TJ. We will speak with Raoul Bussey, who will tell us what's happening within the rally and talk a little bit about the campaign and talk also about some type of work where they're going to be wiping out that fence line or around there. It's some kind of gentrification that's going on, but mainly we'll be speaking about the campaign to have justice for TJ Hickey. We were originally going to have Gail. Raoul was trying to organise Gail, TJ Hickey's mother, but she has been absolutely distraught and crying buckets of tears at the rally. She's been very, very emotional, so we weren't able to speak with her. But we did give a shout out from the Doin' Time show to Gail, and I will do it again. We pre-recorded this interview earlier on while the rally was happening, and we spoke to Raoul at around 1 o'clock this afternoon. So we'll be speaking with him, as I said, about the ongoing campaign demanding justice for TJ. He would have been 32 if he had lived. After that, we'll speak with Professor Bronwyn Carlson, and she is from Macquarie University. She's a strong Indigenous woman, and we'll be speaking with her about the campaign as well, and she will also honour TJ as well. And Professor Bronwyn is from the Department of Indigenous Studies at Macquarie University. And then last but not least, we will hear a message of solidarity support from Cheryl Califas, representing ISJA Melbourne. And we'll speak to her about that. So first up, we will be hearing an interview from Rahul. And apologies to listeners, there were some technical difficulties, given that it was quite chaotic at the rally. So listen very carefully to this one. And subscribe.
And we're just about to cross over now to the rally in Sydney for the commemoration broadcast of TJ Hickey. And I wanted to speak to Rahul, who has been doing some wonderful work organising the rally and doing lots of things. He's from ISJA Sydney. And Rahul has also been involved with working with Indigenous activist and warrior who has since passed on. Hello, Rahul. Welcome to the program.
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me and giving me an opportunity to talk about TJ. Thank you.
It's so lovely to have you. Now, Rahul, we were talking off air, weren't we, about Gail, TJ's mother, coming onto the program, and you were telling me that she's very emotional. Can you talk about what's happening at the rally and discuss what's happened with Gail?
No, the problem for Gail, the rallies normally is no surprise. This is number 18, think about it. Okay, it's no surprise. It's very emotional in the rallies. Sometimes when it starts to speak, it gets better. But sometimes when it's finished, maybe it's not very good. Also, they got all the kids around her. It's really very demanding for her, you know. And that's why I think that's the reason. Can't talk, and I say, no, you talk. Okay, that's why. Okay, but it's normal. We consider it normal.
Yes. I mean, it's very traumatic for Gail, isn't it? Can you talk about the TJ Hickey and the background to what's going on in the campaign, and talk about the rally and the march?
Yes. Well, the campaign is it got a bit of a stop last year when the liberal government in this state, decided that after we organized a petition with more than 14,000 signatures, actual signatures, from citizens or no citizens, residents in Mr. Wells, okay? And they decided that they don't need another inquest, because there were enough inquests of TJ Hickey, when everyone knows that there were two inquests, and the two inquests were run for the same person. Okay, means that it's not impossible to know anything new. Anyway, the story goes like that, and they offered to us going to the appeal tribunal on New South Wales. That just to put a paper is about $1,000, which is totally prohibitive for organizations like us. So we are thinking in some other ways, but still it's nothing. The lawyers can't find anything. We try, we make a sort of try about occupation and safety thing, because it was an action of the state, and the state should be responsible. But the decision of the coroner decided it was an accident. Stop anything like that, because the coroner perceives everyone, okay, in the reason of the death. So not much to do in that way. We are start to the area where the incident was with TJ, and second, where the memorial of TJ is in the same area, in the same place. This is part of a big area of the Housing Commission. There are approximately more than 2,500 units in the Housing Commission. All of this area is surrounding a park that the government wants to make it a railway station undercover, whatever, underneath, because it's a metro that is having is this building in Sydney. So the idea is to put down all the towers, but in between the first two towers they're going to put down is a TJ Hickey Memorial. And we want to keep it as it is. Understand? If there's any changes, we'll go the original plaque that the police never allowed to be affixed to the memorial. That is the only change that we can do. So that's the situation at this point. So we want to get people know that maybe also, the politics in this country are totally and absolutely in crisis at this point. We don't know when tomorrow the state government needs to do something incredibly important to save the elections. They can do.
You mean police investigating police? Is that what you mean?
No. The government. What happened here now is happened. Yesterday were by-elections in New South Wales.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
And that yesterday announced the possibility of cut the tax for beer. Understand? What to do with anything?
You're right, Raul.
Very people thinking another thing. Understand?
Exactly. Raul, I'm going to have to stop you there because we're running a little bit out of time. Now, I just wanted to ask you quickly. First of all, so you were mentioning the plaque, and that's a really good thing that you've mentioned because we do need to have a plaque. And it is about police investigating police, isn't it? Can you tell us a little bit about what's happening at the rally? What happened today? What went on with the rally?
Well, we knew the rally going to be a bit small because it's a working day here, okay?
Yeah.
Many of us, we come in because we skip work, okay? And that's why we'll be here. But there is also the problem that in New South Wales, a big problem with the unemployment because the many places close, you know what I mean? And some people get a job and not going to risk it, okay? That's why we knew the people they want to be, they couldn't be. So we got about 250, maybe 300 people. And half of them was the family of TJ, because there's a lot of kids normally coming to our rally, okay?
And did the police try to stop you from marching, Raul?
No. We have for time since the election day, we didn't have a big confrontation with the police to marching. I don't know why. No even mention the pandemic. They were very, very simple with some trying to control things that we are not allowed to control anything. Okay, but it's really, really it's a change. I don't know how long it's gonna last. But no, we don't have a problem. The problem to march.
That's fantastic because there has been a little bit of a brutal history of, the police not allowing. And Ray Jackson that time they took him to court just before he died. Ray Jackson from Istra. Raul, thank you so much for coming onto the program and trying to organise Gail for us. I know she was really upset. Can you please send her our love from the Doing Time show?
Yeah, sure. I already mentioned to her that it's your show and everything, blah, blah. And yes, she knows, and I'm going to extend your wishes and everything, okay?
Yeah, and maybe we can get her on at some other time, on another Monday when it's not so highly charged. But thank you so much for Sydney Istra doing all the work. And you're obviously are you at the fence line now, Raul?
What?
Are you at the fence line now where...
Yeah, I am.
You're standing right there where he died?
Yeah, I'm looking at the fence. Yeah.
You're looking at the fence where he was impaled and where there was indeed a police pursuit. And we need to actually have ongoing work happening, don't we, for another inquest and an independent investigation. That's right, isn't it, Raul?
Yeah. The question is find out which way. Understand? What's the name? Chile offered me some lawyers, but the lawyers they don't have a way to go. They cannot go. Understand?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
That is the thing. It's not happening. in a sense, it's what happened with other people, other cases like John Pat. Well, John Pat not so much, but Eddie Murray. That even the colonial inquest find out they was wrong and nothing happened. Okay, and that's because it's no ways to use the law, the system law, to get something in favor of Aboriginal people. It's easy.
You are right. And in fact, what you're saying basically that it's all about, there's been too many Aboriginal deaths in custody, and in fact, Eddie Murray's family were the ones that spearheaded this all these campaigns.
Yeah, they tried many things too, and they couldn't keep going, and that's and it's terrible for us. We're helping, but for them, they put too much emotions, too much hope something's going to happen. I've been with a company with the families of the Dan guys, the Churchills, and 4 or 5 what's it called, the woman they
Miss Jew?
No, Miss Jew is no, the woman
in WA, yeah.
New South Wales. Rebecca Mar.
Rebecca Mar, that's it.
Rebecca Mar. And
yep.
we wanted in those inquests, and the family was so hopeful that something could come from there. And I know, there's nothing is going to come. And I can't say that word, understand? I'm not the person to tell him, no wait for anything. Understand? If they can hope, you have to go with them,
Absolutely.
And that is the problem. That is the real problem, because also that is also the real problem. People promise, now they promise the family to, the young guys, to go to the international, whatever it is, in the UN, in New York, blah, 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 blah. But we send the stuff from to TJ, from there, nothing happened. That's
right. You were talking about when Gail went to the UN? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the case went to the UN.
Exactly.
But the case went to, but now they want to send the case of David Dangai to the UN. And the mother is so yeah, it's a group of lawyers here. I don't know.
David Dunbar, okay.
I think it doesn't say again. I can't get involved in something that I don't think is going to happen.
I hope it does. I mean, I see you're talking about David also going to the UN as well. Well, you never know what can happen. I mean, sometimes we have
the
procedures that don't work,
Yeah, but the question is, we don't have a case in Australia, particularly even in human rights. Never the human rights are being taken to the other courts and so on. Never happened anything. Absolutely.
So what you're saying then, we were just talking about Gail going to the UN and then David.
No. Gail is waiting for us to fight something. That is the story.
Of course.
She got a very good job now with the grandkids. He got 11 grandkids. Okay, he got enough to get busy, and it's not they want to remember the son. Okay, that's what is very important for her to have the rally, whatever size, whatever happens. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for coming onto the program. I know it's a little bit chaotic over there, isn't it? But thank you so much for speaking a few words about TJ Hickey and your down at that
all right.
there.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I promise next time I'm gonna get my phone quicker. Okay.
That's okay.
No, because you believe me. I live with the phone.
Yeah.
But sometimes I ignore the phone because it's
That's
stupid.
Okay. All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good call and enjoy it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll be in touch. No problem.
Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.
And you're back with 3CR Doing Time show. And just to recap, we were speaking with Raoul Bassi, who is from Easter, Sydney. And I invited him onto the show because he's an old-time campaigner and actually did a lot of work for Uncle Ray Jackson when he was alive. And together, Raoul and Ray and other Easter supporters did some work together, not just for TJ, but all deaths in custody. And indeed, you know, deaths in custody have increased, you know, and I'm going to be speaking with Professor Bronwyn Carlson shortly from Macquarie University, as I said earlier, from the Indigenous Studies Department. And I'm going to speak to her generally about justice for TJ Hickey, Ray Jackson, and also perhaps a little bit about deathscapes. But before I do, just wanted to recap with Raoul. We spoke quite a lot about not just the campaign, but also towards the end discussing a little bit about going to the UN, Gail going to the UN, and Raoul is actually doubtful that David Dungai's case, with his death in custody, will go to the UN. I think he's a little bit disillusioned, and of course we can become disillusioned, but we also have to be very positive, and he is too. It's approximately 4:21. Ray Jackson, president of the Indigenous Social Justice Association in Sydney, also noted in a 3CR interview, when he was alive, of course, although I'm sure he's with us still now, and a quote, that the police force was founded not only on the theft of Aboriginal land, but also from the historic, brutal genocide of First Nations people. He says that things haven't changed. So this February is the 17th anniversary of the death of TJ Hickey. The 17-year-old died in 2004 after being impaled on a fence during a chase by racist police. The Hickey family has been seeking justice for TJ ever since. This is despite New South Wales police doing everything they can to weaken and subdue them. The police want the family to rewrite history and accept that TJ's death was an accident. The family refuses and has been harassed and persecuted, with raids on their homes becoming almost routine. Payback for refusing to be silent about the police, racism and role in the death of the teenager, eventually led by family members being arrested under unfair and traumatic circumstances and slapped with over-the-top charges. Since then, that court case was resolved. And after Bronwyn, I'll be speaking with Cheryl, because I'm really trying to just get a flavour of some of the old-time campaigners. And also Bronwyn is a tireless campaigner as well, not just for TJ Hickey, but for women's rights. Hello, Bronwyn. Welcome to the program, and sorry for the wait.
That's okay. Hi, Marissa. Thanks for having me on.
It's lovely to have you. So let's continue our discussion. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've observed about TJ Hickey campaign and the justice?
Yeah, and I do remember when this actually occurred, 18 years ago now, and since then have followed the efforts from his family and community in terms of trying to seek justice, which has yet to be realised, and it is just one more example of the trauma that Indigenous families are subjected to in a search for some form of answers and some form of justice, which, many of us are really disillusioned about whether that the system that's in place across this continent now, this legal system, is actually capable of giving any kind of justice to Indigenous people.
Yeah, it's quite sad, and not just sad, but quite appalling in the act as well. That I'm not sure if you're aware, but there are lots of inconsistencies in police statements, and the police lied on the stand, and that happens a lot with deaths in custody, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You've got one officer there who's refused to testify in case it incriminated himself, which is pretty glaringly a problem. And since then, that officer's been promoted and received awards. So they're actually revered for their actions against us. And we see examples of this all the time. And the other person, refused. The other person had given this sort of contradictory evidence, claiming constantly to say, I don't recall. But we all know that police officers are required to keep, pretty comprehensive notes about circumstances in which they're involved. Yet when it comes to Indigenous people, there seems to be this forgetfulness. I can't recall. It's all a blank. It's just, when we think about how settler colonialism operates, it always has systems in place to cover its tracks. And we can see that in the way this operates in the deaths in custody space and the killings of Indigenous people. There's always some way that the tracks are covered.
Absolutely. And in fact, it's interesting that I'm not sure if you've seen some of the overviews that Ray Jackson has written, he's since passed on, about the overview of the inquest. I mean, he mentions, and a lot of other sources mention, that the bicycle was tampered with after TJ died, and just lots of other things that, you know, a lot of witnesses weren't approached, and that they were sent away or intimidated.
And look, this is not an uncommon story, and really that's how settler colonialism and the violence of institutions like the police operate. And Hannah McGlade's work is also really important in this space in talking about police interaction and violence against other Indigenous people, and particularly women in Western Australia. And you can see the same themes where Indigenous people are not believed, evidence, you know, is suddenly missing, people can't recall, and there's all this absences that is allowed, but never allowed of us. Like, we have to, you know, explain ourselves in minute detail to the law, but evidence from the other side can be, you know, missing, absent at best, and it's allowed. And that's how settler colonialism operates, to cover its tracks, so that the settlers then are never held accountable for the death of us.
Yeah, and interestingly, that's very true, Bronwyn. And interestingly too, I'm not sure, I'll just update you about something, and I want to see what you think of this. The police actually refused to allow Gail Hickey and a forensic consultant retained on her behalf to photograph the bicycle that TJ was riding.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard that, but you have to wonder then why. Why would that be? If they are true, and, you know, this is what they pledge, to uphold this law and the truth and protect people. So if that is a fact, then why is it that the grieving mother is unable to actually, you know, come and investigate the evidence that should be freely available to her? It's outrageous. It
is outrageous. And why is it that, you know, I believe it was Tisha Hickey was on her 21st, there were about 15 cop cars that came to her house and arrested her. That's just one example of the way the Hickey family have been persecuted. And I was actually in Parramatta when that trial was happening. I think it was around 2011 or around that time. Yep. And you should have seen the police, Bronwyn. They were lying on the witness stand. She won the case in the end, but still.
Yeah, intimidation is a regular tool that's used, and what it's doing is showing the public, you know, the force that's behind this, like the literal force. I'm not talking about the individuals, but it's a warning that this is a huge force of power that you're up against.
And what about in general? I know, what land are you from, Bronwyn, too, just to set things in context, if you don't mind saying?
Sure. How I know you.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, I just missed what you said.
Oh, what land are you from?
Oh, yes, I'm just coming from Dharawal country today, where I was born and raised here, but my ancestors are actually from South Australia, and I grew up down here in the beautiful Wollongong and studied at university here, particularly Indigenous studies and sociology, which, of course, were great areas of interest to me. And in studying Indigenous studies, it's very difficult to not study violence in settler colonialism because it's so pertinent. And that's how I ended up sort of very interested in and working on the Deathscapes project with Suvendrini, Pereira and Joseph Puglisi.
You there, Bronwyn?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, you just cut out there. Oh, you were talking about the Deathscapes website?
Yeah, so I ended up, being invited along to contribute to the website, and if people want to have a look at it, it's deathscapes.org. And what it is it's compiling personal stories of the killing of Indigenous people, not only here in Australia. And one of the interesting things is that you can see in the US and Canada as well, and other places, Aotearoa even, where the same kind of colonial violence takes place with the killing of Indigenous and other racialised bodies.
And there have been quite a few deaths in custody. There have been at least 500, haven't there, in the last 6 months or so?
Oh, yeah, look, it's pretty devastating. I was, writing a chapter for the Deathscapes book, which has just been released. It's called Mapping Deathscapes, Digital Geographies of Racial and Border Violence. And the chapter was about the silence within the media about Aboriginal deaths. And as I was writing that chapter, I was particularly talking about social media, which is an area I'm interested in. And as I was writing the chapter, I had to keep updating it because there was another death in custody, and it was just like overwhelming the amount of violence taking place and reported on the streets here in Australia. Like, I don't know how non-Indigenous people particularly are not outraged by the killing of Indigenous people on a regular basis.
Absolutely. It's just awful. And I know, Bronwyn, we've had you here quite a few times, and we had you on International Women's Day, and also you were speaking on the panel at Deathscapes a couple of years ago talking about that. And what about Ray Jackson? Do you have fond memories of him?
Well, he was a person who's well known and well thought of, across communities. He really had some really unique perspectives on the way in which this violence takes place, the institutions of this violence. And he could clearly see how it's connected to violence that's perpetrated on other people, non-white people in this country. And I think it was back in maybe 2010, maybe, he wrote to, no, it would have been a bit after that, he wrote to the then Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, and he outlined how, invasion and the treatment of Aboriginal people provided a framework of racism and xenophobia that's actually used now in the way in which we treat refugees and those seeking asylum. So he's like a really, forward thinker and really understood the systems of violence and how it's perpetrated in the everyday.
It's very true, Bronwyn, and thank you so much for mentioning that. And so we do really need to have an inquest, an independent investigation into the death of TJ Hickey, and we need to compel police, don't we, to give evidence?
Absolutely. I mean, how they get away with not doing it is also the question that needs to be asked. Like, how is it that they are allowed to not give evidence when we know that when a coroner is pursuing an inquiry, that you are actually obliged? Exactly.
It's basically a further example of racist settler colonial state violence, isn't it?
Oh, that sort of definition of it, and how it continues. And so whilst settlers are allowed to continue their campaign to annihilate us and eliminate us from these lands, their institutions are always going to protect them. And we can definitely see this. Amy Maguire is another one, a fabulous Indigenous journalist who writes about this, and also thinking about Alison Whittaker's work. These are, fabulous scholars and writers and journos who are actually writing about this violence. And that's one of the fabulous things I like about social media, is this is where Indigenous people can freely have a voice and bring attention to these atrocities.
Social media does have its good points.
Oh, totally. And don't get me wrong, I'm not naive. I understand the violence of
I get it.
Too, because it's a settler colonial institution also, isn't it? Media and online platforms. It operates in the same way.
I get it.
But, we can use it.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And Bronwyn, just lastly, are you able to tell it? I mean, is the book being released to the public as yet or not yet?
Yeah, the book is out. It came out in December, which was quite fabulous.
Can you tell us the details of that?
Yeah, so it's edited by Suvendrini Pereira and Joseph Puglisi, and it was published and released in December 31st, I actually think, by Routledge. And the list of contributors to this book are absolutely fantastic. You have fantastic scholars here, but of course overseas scholars who talk about the violence of the state as well. So it's well worth the read. Fabulous chapters.
Is there an e-book?
I'm actually not sure if it came out in an e-book. I have a hard copy, which I'm, very much enjoying reading. So usually they do come out in an e-book, but definitely lobby libraries to have this book in there and have it available for people.
I'll have to talk to you about that off air. Bronwyn, thank you so much for coming onto the program. Do you have any final comments?
Other than, maintain the rage, that is the best thing we can do. Continue the fight. We all can do our part by not accepting the violence against Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Don't accept it. Be outraged by it.
Thank you so much, Bronwyn. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Marissa.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye. And that was Bronwyn Carlson, who's a First Nations woman, and she is from a professor at Macquarie University from the Department of Indigenous Studies. And pretty soon we'll be having Cheryl from ISJA Melbourne coming onto the show, and I introduced her at the beginning as well. And she'll be giving pretty soon a message of support and solidarity to the Hickey family for TJ.
I really am not understanding why people aren't seeing the fact that prisons are an integral part of a public health response to a pandemic. Like you, I'm really concerned about whether the data is being released very honestly about illnesses within prison. I have suspicions it's not, but really we need very strong leadership in this country that actually cares about people inside our most vulnerable populations inside. That's what we need, and that's not what we're getting right now.
We need to keep Radical Voices on air. Subscribe now.
Go to 3cr.org.au/subscribe or call the station on 9419 8377.
And this is the Doing Time Show, 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. And please subscribe. It is really important to subscribe for another year to keep our show on the air. We've also been hard hit financially by COVID at this radio station. So if you can, please subscribe. And next up, we're going to be speaking to the beautiful Cheryl from Melbourne ISJA, and I think I have actually spoken to her. We've had about a total of about 10 phone calls, emails, but we've been having a wonderful time organising, and that's the way it should be. Hi Cheryl, this is a special broadcast commemorating TJ Hickey, and I know that you've been committed to the campaign for many years, going to the rally in Sydney in February. And hello.
Hello, Marissa. Thank you for your broadcast today. I think it's most important.
Good. Have you been listening?
Sorry?
Were you able to listen?
Yes, I was.
Beautiful.
And it's still such a strong commitment by ISJA Sydney, by Gail, of course. Despite she's got all those grandkids, and I know she was in hospital during the week with one of them that was having some health issues.
Yeah, Raoul told me that.
Yeah, poor Gail. So I don't know how much sleep she's had during the week, and then to have this topping it off, it's no wonder she was distraught. Really, it's bad enough any year, but, this week it's been a big week for her.
Absolutely, Cheryl. And what is your message of solidarity support to the Hickey family?
Well, we've been there since the National Day of Action was called back in 2005. On the first anniversary of TJ's killing in custody. ISJA Melbourne was there we were founded then after a call out by Ray Jackson. He spoke to Alison Thorne from ISJA, and we kicked off down here then. And our commitment was strong then, and it hasn't waned, and we'll stand in solidarity with Gail, TJ's mum, and his family and community until there is some sort of justice. Who knows what that will be, but they've had no justice as yet, as you've been pointing out and as your guests have been pointing out.
Absolutely, Cheryl. And I was going to ask you a question about the plaque where the police said that the inscription had to be an accident, but I think I've kind of really.
Did you get the wording though? Did you actually get the wording? Did Val point out the wording?
No. Can you talk a little bit more about that, Cheryl, and put it in perspective for us?
Well, what I've got in front of me is that the students, it was the Aboriginal students or the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students from the UTS in Sydney had presented this. I think it was around the first anniversary of TJ's death in custody. And it said, this was the wording, TJ Hickey, aged 17, was impaled upon the metal fence above arising from a police pursuit. The young man died as a result of his wounds the next day. Now, police wouldn't have a problem if the 5 words arising from a police pursuit were removed, apparently. That's what the story goes around.
Yep.
So why would you delete that when that's exactly what happened? He'd be with us today if there wasn't a police pursuit.
Well,
I mean, why bother having a memorial plaque at all if it doesn't tell the full story? I mean, you know, yeah, they're still trying to hide the truth. And, you know, I mean, you would have heard about a mural that was painted. Scott Marsh painted this mural with permission from the fence owner in, I think it was Redfern, Waterloo area. And within 24 hours, that mural had to come down. That was one of the vehicles involved in the pursuit on fire. Redfern 16 was the car. There were 2 cars involved in the incident, Redfern 16 and Redfern 17 from memory. Redfern 16 was the one with Hollingsworth driving, and he was the one that Bronwyn was referring to, I think, as being allowed by the coroner not to take the stand or not to give evidence at the coronial inquest. So that mural had to be removed, quick, smart, because the police didn't like that either. So they got a problem with truth, obviously.
Indeed. And I understand that you've been, Easter Melbourne, you in particular have gone to a lot of these rallies. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, over the years, well, my husband and I both have been up there, but I used to go up sometimes just overnight on a bus, and actually I'm trying to think back, and I think sometimes I came back on the bus the same night after the rally was over instead of staying up there.
Yeah, you told me you did.
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah.
I did that, and, which was pretty scary when I think about it now. I don't know how I did that, but they've always been such emotional days, you know, and I mean, things have changed a bit because, Uncle Ray's no longer there, and Nora's Auntie Bowie, the aunt that TJ was living with at the time of this so-called accident, freak accident, as the coroner put it. No freak accident, as we know. But, she's passed on, unfortunately, and sadly, so she'll be strongly missed. She used to, head to the courts with her messages, slogans painted on her back, like don't shoot, on day leave, don't shoot. She'd have written on the back of her tracky top or something like that. She'd walk into the courts. It's just amazing, like she's sadly missed as well. Things have changed, but it looks like it was a good rally again today, despite, the COVID, impact on people and work day and what have you. Ralph sort of alluded to that, I think, when he spoke to you. But it looked like a decent crowd still. And, I mean, I think for Gail, it's good that she can do this each year with, with people in the community who care. And,
Oh, yeah. We, as I said earlier, there were plans for Gail to speak today with me, and Rahul said this off air as well, that she was so distraught. She was just weeping. Yeah. I mean, you can never. People say get over it, don't they? But you can never, ever forget something. How?
No parent ever expects to, to bury their child. No parent. But not only that, and then to have to face all this that they've gone through. And I think, you spoke before about what happened to Letitia Hickey, at their house at the 21st.
Letitia, yeah.
Yeah, when they were raided and what have you, look, there was nothing really happening. It was a 21st birthday, and then they supposedly responded, the police, to a noise complaint or excessive music or something. It had already been turned down, the music, at midnight on a Friday or Saturday night. There was no complaints apparently by anyone in the neighbourhood. They were sitting around having a cup of tea when the cops came the first time, but They announced, they were very, straightforward. They just said, there's too many Redfern people here. This is in an area well away from Redfern, and they turn up and say that. So it was a construct again. They heard about it because there was a permit. They had to get a permit, or they tried to get a permit to hold this 21st in a hall. And when the mum went to pay the rest of the monies owed, the 21st person's mum went to pay the monies, the extra amount, she was told that the booking had been cancelled, and it was cancelled by, now what was the area called? Riverston, I think, police. They'd actually cancelled her booking for the 21st. So therefore they had to have it at home. And it wasn't a huge turn by the sound of it, and it certainly wasn't noisy when the cops turned up. And that fell apart in the court, as you know, you were there too.
Yep.
When it got to court. It all fell over. It was, exposed for what it was. The Hickeys won their case. But that's only one incident. Gail's had people hiding in the grass, police hiding in the grass, long grass at the end of the street. They come knocking if she ever left home and left any of the kids in their teens, I think they were by then, at home. They'd have the cops at the door, haranguing them and what have you. And it wouldn't be unusual. This is what happens to families when they have the audacity to try and seek some justice. How hideous is this?
And the young woman, Letitia, was also, harassed by police as well.
Yes. Yeah, herself, yes. And they tried to there was footage, I think one of the kids was taking some footage, and there was a chase, must have been on his phone, and they tried to chase him around the house on the morning, I think this was, that following morning, because there was footage showing in the daytime, so they'd come back the next day. Oh, there were police helicopters, there was a dog squad, they had all the works. And I think you said 15 cars, I think that was about it. Yeah. People from the next street actually rang the Hickeys to say, what's going on in your street? So they weren't hearing noise or anything other than the police noise.
Look, what's going on? It's as I said, it's another example of settler, violence.
Yes.
Because it's actually giving out a strong message, cruel and unusual punishment, because they were seeking justice for TJ Hickey.
That's right. And it's warning other families, isn't it? And with the numbers ever increasing, we're up to 500 deaths in custody now since the Royal Commission. A Royal Commission hands down 339 recommendations. A handful have been fully implemented. And the numbers are just increasing, and as you were saying with Bronwyn before.
Yeah.
It's exponential. There's some months when you've got 3 and 4. Just before Christmas, there was another little run of them spate. It's just, and yet no one ever goes back to the root cause. Is this? It's a construct of the system's not failing. That's what we're hearing lately. People are starting to realise the system's not failing. It's doing what it's intended to do. It's keeping Aboriginal people in their place.
That's exactly right. And I think one of the things that I started off 2022 with a bang, actually, on the 31st of January, and I did a show on Invasion Day. And one of the things that I was discussing with Leanne Carter from Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service is why do people, Aboriginal people, and all of us always have to be polite? Why do we have to be polite? Do you know what I'm saying? Do we have to be polite all the time?
That's really interesting. And then I heard Robbie Thorpe on his program last Wednesday, I think, on 3CR. He was interviewing John Lawrence.
Oh, yes.
SC from Darwin, who's been doing a lot of great work up there with the Dondale kids.
Oh, beautiful. Yep.
Representing them over the years too, and he's been along there having a weekly vigil because that place is still open and the numbers are swelling, I think, by the sound of it, with kids as young as 10 and 11 in there again. And he was saying, he doesn't believe in the court, that the courts are going to be the answer for any justice. He said it's time for direct action. And this is a barrister, a senior barrister.
Exactly.
Coming out with this, that it's time for direct action, that's what's going to make change. So I think it is time we had a rethink. We're all being too polite. Mainstream media will hardly touch the subject of deaths in custody. The 24-hour news cycle, you'll be lucky to get a look in there with all the, we're too busy worrying about what our politicians are having for breakfast or, what musical instrument they're playing.
ScoMo, eat your heart out.
Please. No wonder. Really.
Oh, my God, Cheryl, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. So are there any comments you want to make in terms of, ongoing work of ISJA? What's planned for the future for the campaigns for TJ?
Well, we follow our, in regards to, say, cases like TJ's, we take our guidance, I suppose. We support anything that ISJA Sydney will be doing with the family because, they're working with Gail, in closer, contact with Gail than what we are. She has, she's got confidence in them. She's been dealing with them all the way through for the last 18 years. So
particularly
we'll
Ray too.
And anything they'll do now with this railway interchange or whatever it is, an underground one, where it's going to undermine the TJ Hickey Park at the fence line where the memorial would go if it was put up, this memorial plaque. So that's one way of getting rid of that, isn't it? I mean, it'd be an expensive way. I don't think it's just designed for that, but that's a side benefit, I suppose, that it'll get rid of that park and, these annual meetings or, remembrances. So we'll certainly support that if that comes into a campaign, which it's sounding like it's going to do, because there should be something preserved. They wouldn't do it, if it was an RSL sitting there or something like that. It'll be valued forever. So there's got to be some sort of provision made, I think, for TJ to be remembered where it happened. It can't be just swept under the carpet. They've done enough damage so far to the Hickeys and to the whole community for that matter, not just to the Hickeys at all. So I don't know where it's going to go. We'll just watch it. The UN, I think Raoul spoke to you about that. They came back, they accepted the case, which was a big thing to do anyway. They had to jump through plenty of hoops. I remember Tamar Hopkins, who was at the Flemington Community Centre, Legal Centre at the time, and she, it wasn't an easy job, the paperwork they had to put in, but it was finally accepted. Well, when it comes back to Australia comes up with some, they'll always find excuses, put it that way, and they wormed their way out of any responsibility whatsoever. And yet, the Royal Commission was a federal initiative, the Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody 3 decades ago. So I can't work out why it's not their responsibility to have them all implemented, all those recommendations, as a starting point. It might save one life. If it saves one life, that's one life that's been saved. I mean, if it's the recommendations for other Royal Commissions, many of them, not ones that affect First Nations people, those recommendations are implemented. So what's so different here again?
Exactly.
There's a real lack of commitment, isn't there?
There's a lack of commitment, and one of the other things, just quickly before we finish, is I've been doing some interviews with Auntie Megan from WA about suicide, trying to do suicide prevention for Aboriginal children in particular. Yep.
And is it any wonder? These kids, the trauma that these families have experienced over the years. I mean, even if it only goes, that's very inappropriate to use that word. No,
that's all right.
But like from child removal from country, all the other bits and pieces, plus then the incarceration, the representation in the courts and the incarceration system. Is it any wonder these kids are traumatised? Often they grow up without seeing one of their parents for many years. Even if they're in custody of one of them, the other one's locked up.
Exactly.
On remand, maybe. On remand.
Exactly. Cheryl, thank you so much for coming onto the program. It's been lovely to have you.
That's okay. Oh, and ISJA has a Zoom meeting it's Zoom for the next one, on the 3rd of March, but we have a meeting either in person or online on the 3rd. This coming one on the 3rd of March will be a Zoom one. So just watch our Facebook page, ISJA Melbourne's Facebook page, for the Zoom link for that. And, the more people that we get on board, the more noise we can make. If we're going to do this direct action, there's plenty to fight for.
Absolutely. Keep up the good work, Cheryl.
Okay. Thanks, Marissa. Thanks for your care and your concern about this and for the important work you do.
Thank you very much. Take care. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye. And that was Cheryl, and she was great to talk to, and about the campaign work of TJ Hickey, adding her voice to the other guests. And God, we've only got about a couple of minutes left. So yeah, thank you to our guests for coming into the show, and we've come to the end of the commemoration broadcast of TJ Hickey. It's approximately 4:54, and And we're going to be saying goodbye soon, and probably not much time for music. We're going to be going out with our theme song pretty soon, Black Fella, White Fella by the Rumpy Band. But in the meantime, I'll just put a quick announcement in.
Yarra City Arts presents The Bandwagon, a new pop-up COVID-safe live entertainment venue at Condell Reserve this Sunday, February 20 from 6 to 8 p.m. Featuring punk rockers The Switches, who at age 13 will be playing their third public show, indie pop artist Ilka, who writes songs instead of getting therapy, and 16-year-old Cooper Jack, producer of indie pop beats. For all Yarra staycation events, visit yarracity.vic.gov.au/rediscover. Yarra City Arts is a 3CR supporter.
And it's goodbye from Marissa. Stay tuned every Monday from 4 to 5 for the Doing Time show. Stay strong and safe. Bye.
You've been listening to a 3CR podcast produced in the studios of independent community radio station 3CR in Melbourne, Australia. For more information, go to allthews.3cr.org.au.